Hello, everybody, and of course, welcome back to the after show, FinalBossTV episode number 84 about Shadow Priest shenanigans and Shadow Orbs and stuff. We'll be here for a little bit, take some questions from chat and Twitter, and if you have them, please send them in now. And these are our guests. We're back. Hello, gentlemen. Boop. Hello.
Hello.
They can
Hello,
see and hear you
Priest
now.
again.
This is Priest again. I think you are anyway, right? Are you not also Lion though? What's the separation there?
Chat said I'm Eagle and Lion, so I'm just
Okay.
all the animals. I'm the Beast Lord. Lord Hesp.
Fair enough. So question came in from Bart on Twitter. A question regarding Glyph of Shadow or Death. Is this glyph still viable on high mobility fights, or did Fox it up?
I get it.
Yeah. So Shadow or Death glyph, any good or piece of crap?
So
Go ahead.
should really
Go ahead, Taz.
plan around it, like
Okay,
not
that's
having
good.
to use it. It's like okay if you have to move, but there are other good glyphs. It's like the tiniest DPS increase when you can just take Reflective Shield on most fights and have that be your mobile DPS option all the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
the
really
thing
like it.
about Glyph of Shadow is like it's a quarter of the normal damage Shadow Death would do, which is 60.5% spell power, I want to say. And yeah, it's higher than like spamming Shadow Word Pain, which is 45%, I want to say. But it's like if you're running around, hopefully you've planned out when you need to do your movement so you have other buttons that you need to press at the same time. It can be a DPS increase. There were a lot of people that thought it was going to be more worthwhile and usable early on in the expansion than it really has ended up being, because there's too many other good glyphs. It's like, which one do you drop? You've got Reflective Shield, Glyph of Mind Flay, which is going to get you from point A to point B faster, and then like VE. What do you get rid of? I don't want to get rid of any of them.
I guess it's going to be really dependent as the robots come in chat. A little bit of back and forth there. I mean, I guess it really depends on the encounter, because in what encounter will you be moving that much where you also can't like weave in some spells normally with cast times, I don't know if there are any fights in HFC that are that movement demanding. Even like Manaroth, it's
just don't want to give up the alternatives, and
right.
honestly, Shadow's one of the more mobile ranged. I mean, obviously there's like a huge gap, but
right.
Shadow has good mobility. You don't need the Shedward Death, and you begin up Mind Flay, which is a better movement glyph, Reflective Shield, which is damage and convenience, Restored Faith, which will get you where you need to go instantly if you really need it. It's like they're just too good of options for that tiny benefit.
And there's always stutter stepping. You can stop halfway through and cast something and then keep going.
Hesp's mic is exploding.
Is it my mic?
Don't, yeah. It was, but yes.
I think it was me.
No, it was, I don't know, both of you.
Okay.
We collaborated to
yeah, with this robot overtaking the show right now.
But yeah, it's, that's all about planning your movement. If you know, like, I have 10 seconds to get from here to there, you can stop halfway through if Mind Blast is off cooldown and cast it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be one solid shot unless you really need to get from point A to point B.
Right. Yeah, what is that duct taping right now? That's crazy.
I don't think it's me, because I'm hearing it. I don't think I'd be hearing it.
So it is David. Gosh, dang it, David. Being out in the sun and stuff. Jeez. Yeah, you could mute on mute, and it should be okay. How do you guys feel about the need to have Shadow Orbs to have a decent opener, but realistically only be able to have that on the first pull of a progression boss? Ugh.
I think it's stupid.
That face, though. Yeah?
It's like, I mean, that was the original intent of Mine Harvest, right? It's like, okay, we're going to take one of your glyphs and we'll let you have 3 herbs on the pull. And then somebody decided that that wasn't what we really wanted. Here's what you really want. And now we have this dead glyph, which was, it was what I really wanted. They were right. I don't know. If it really matters on a fight like Blackhand, you'll like pull the boss to reset it. It's not as big as people think, but it is pretty frustrating when like I know a lot of people, the pad lords, they wanna get their farm pad on, and like wiping to something like Gruul when you came in with 5 orbs is like, okay, well, do I ask my guild to let me build up orbs again and be annoying, or do I just suck it up? I don't know. I kind of wish orbs would just decay out of combat, so you never like had to deal with it because the disparity is annoying. But
Right. I remember doing Siege of Orgrimmar stuff, and our warlocks and shadow priests would have to run all the way back around on like Malkorok and go back down to the target dummies, and they would build up their demonic fury and their shadow orbs before the pull, and then they run up the stairs right now, and the countdown's going down. They're pre-potting and running in because they have the full resources. A couple of classes like that have to like build up something that can like have it going into the fight, and it's totally different than not having it. It's still kind of a weird balance
I mean,
between classes right now. Or has
it's
been.
big, but it's nowhere near the level of like demonic fury or frenzy stacks were. But it is kind of annoying that
Fair enough.
it's
Or
like
the
the one
shenanigans.
resource that doesn't decay. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
or the
ridiculous.
shenanigans that like Rep Pallies would do in MOP with their PvP bonuses to try to get full
Oh
holy
man,
power. And
the different swapping sets and stuff. Yeah.
no, thank you.
No, thank you. Um. So, Cal, we went through the level 100 talents and the 90s and 75 and stuff a lot during the main show. So we're not gonna bog down talent oriented stuff. So you can always go back and watch the. If you missed the main show, of course, if you're new, main shows are always put up on YouTube in 2 parts for the after show and main show. Be on YouTube tomorrow on the same time the show went live today, so 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Both parts will be online, and you can go back through and watch them all packaged up and nice and clean. And let's see. Cooper on Twitter wants to know for Hesp in general. Wants to know how bad you think trinkets are for Shadow and how ridiculous they are for mages. I sense this is like an inside question.
I think, yeah, they know what they're
Yeah?
asking. It's like the in trinkets just suck, and the agi trinkets kind of suck too. But it's like you've got the Prophecy of Fear, which is the Archimon trinket, puts a debuff on your target every time you hit it. While the debuff's up, it pulses this AoE Shadow Nova for a good amount of damage. And there are classes like Affliction Locks who have 0 spells that are able to proc this debuff. So this trinket gives them 0 damage. And it's like, why even make it like that, you know? Because it only procs on direct damage. And then there's Shadow, where Mind Flay and dot applications don't proc it, but Mind Blast and Shadowward Pain do. So if you want to use that trinket, you have to do nothing but spam Shadowward Pain, which is just stupid. I don't. And then you've got people like mages who all their spells work, and in addition, every arcane missile from an arcane missile will proc like the Mark of Doom. And they've kind of balanced the proc rates around it, but it's like as a mage, Frost and Arcane, because Icicles proc the Mark of Doom as well. This trinket does like 10% of your damage from the proc alone. And it's got static int. This trinket is like absolutely huge. It's pretty good for Ellie Shamans too, because they're Molten Earth Mastery procs in the same way Icicles do. So this trinket's like really good for 3 specs, and then just horrible for everybody else. And why not just make it proc off of spellcasts? You know, it's just, I don't understand what they're doing. And you've got the Static Mastery int proc one that's just horribly under budget for no reason. The static stat ones across the board got buffed up to being really good, and now they're back to being really bad. The Eye of Seed is pretty good, and then class trinkets are a mixed bag. So the end ones, it's looking pretty grim if you're not a mage, really. And meanwhile, the strength ones do like 20% of your damage each, and it's, I don't know, it's I think we talked about it a little bit before the show, but some of the items are just out of control, and I think they're balancing the items in lieu of balancing the classes.
Well, they definitely are doing that in tier 18. Like, you've seen how much balancing is directed at classes alone. They keep balancing, like, trinkets and set bonuses differently, besides just, like, fixing the root
I don't
of the problem.
I don't like it, and I don't know. It's all like just a roulette wheel at this point. You have no idea where it's going to end. I mean,
Right.
Felburn as a rep pally does 20% of your single target damage.
Yay! It's pretty good on Fury
Why
Warriors,
why
too.
is it like this?
Yeah, Fury
It's
Warriors and
just
Red Pallies.
yeah.
Yep.
SMF's also huge with it. It's just
Well, that Felburn trinket, I reported that as a bug because I was using it as enhancement shaman before they made it strength classes only because my mastery improved the damage because it was fire damage. So yeah, I was like 30-ish% of my damage was just the trinket on single target. It was insane. Stupid good.
And that's not broken at all.
No, yeah, it's fine. I'm still doing 35%
yeah.
of my damage from lightning bolt next patch. So it's fine.
It was pretty fun because they got nerfed and they were like really bad for a while. Both
Yep.
the Cleave and the Felburn, because when they first came out, they're really strong. Not as strong as they are now. I remember one day Skullflowers was like, "Oh, so I submitted logs and I think we're gonna get these strength trinkets buffed." And I'm like, "Oh, good." And then the most recent PTR patch comes out and it's just disgusting. It's like, well,
Right.
mission accomplished, strength classes. You did it.
Oh, David, what are you doing to me? My earballs. So, question from chat was... David, please. Mike's going crazy. Is Shadow any good on the balcony for Phase 2 Mythic Blackhand? Raid leaders considering it because we have no boomkins. I know we had a Shadow Priest that went up there sometimes. What talents would you take for going up there? And is it actually pretty okay to, like... You can't kill the whole balcony, but you probably kill a couple. Did you ever do the balcony, Hesp, for Mythic Blackhand? What would you suggest?
If you've got really good gear, you can almost solo it. I think I've soloed it a couple times.
I would
It's
assume this is a progression question, though. That's why I'm wondering.
yes, and I was able to do it most of the way. I think I had a mage like take out 2 of them. I could do the rest on progression. That was with like 5 less eye levels. It's if you aren't already taking AS, you want to be using it. Just the same setup. You know, you want to dot them up early. The thing Shadow has up there is kind of like staying power, because once you get all your dots up, you can chain gun a lot of DPs and get through some pretty high stacks. But if you don't have good gear, it's going to be pretty tough. But Shadow, I don't know. When you're paired with like a class that's huge up there, like a Boomkin, Shadow's not going to look so good. But by themselves or with somebody who will solo down 2 of them, so you can let your dots stick the full time, Shadow's fine.
Let's
Testing.
see.
Testing.
Yeah, it just comes up randomly. It's like chat room's like, and we have liftoff. It's like a bomb.
Another
rocket.
thing you can do to help with your staying power up there is if you have Vampiric Embrace available, you get all your dots rolling and you throw a Cascade out. It'll give you a good amount of healing too.
On the balcony.
Yeah.
Interesting. To help the people down below.
Well, and to help you because
Right, of course, to live through the debuffs and stuff. Yeah.
you know you throw out if you're running AS, you throw out Void Entry, Vampiric Embrace, the other
There you
VE,
go.
not the other VE. And you spend your orbs on Devouring Plagues when you start to get like sub 80%. You can keep yourself up pretty well.
You just if you're going up with somebody else, you want to coordinate with them. If you just try to like dot things and hit what you can, you run the risk of like both of you like targeting the same ads. So I'd recommend
Wasting
like,
time.
coordinating with your partner up there so you know which ones are worth dotting, which ones aren't.
Yeah.
But Shadow's fine up there. Most classes are fine. Really only hunters are kind of pretty useless up there.
Well, if you're talking about ranged classes, yeah. Like, I'm definitely not going up there. Get me out of that.
Right.
I'm
talking about mostly range.
Right, about ranged classes, yeah, of course. Let me see. Kind of a mixed question. Do you think it's viable to split the talents between all talents, or split the talents between AoE and single target, or just go to enhance our strengths? So is the question asking if talent tiers should be like, this is an AoE talent tier, this is a single target talent tier? Or is it asking if you should talent yourself to be able to do both? Might be the latter.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because there's so many talents that like look at the level 45 talent, for example. You've got there, insanity is inherently single target unless you need to do a bunch of AoE. Then it becomes an AoE talent. Surge of Darkness, you can use as a single target ability, but it scales as you get more targets because you get more procs. And then Mindbender it's a single target ability, but you only use it when you have too many targets. Like, it's really weird. I don't think you can take most of our talents and break them out like that because they overlap what their uses really are. Now, if they were to do something like that, then that might make balancing things easier, or it might end up with just more pigeonholing of you always want to take this.
I guess at least you, as Shadow Priest, have it looks like you have a pretty balanced option to be a tunneling single target class or almost utility AoE. Because I wouldn't even, like cross-dotting and Searing Insanity and like Cascade, I guess you could do AoE, but you don't like, you're not Fire Nova, right? You're not Bladestorm, Ravager, Dragon's Roar. Like you're not that kind of AoE. You're not Necrotic Plague with spamming Blood Boil, but it's cool that you can do both, but you can like go into a fight knowing I'm gonna do this fight, so I'm gonna spec this way, or not. It's pretty good, I think, overall. Not many classes can say that you can do that. I'm sorry, Red Paladins. I'm so sorry. Yeah, not bad. Let's see. Catch up in chat. Yep, Cascade definitely procs Vampiric Embrace. All of the level 90s do. Cascade, Divine Star, and Halo. Oh, Sai wants to know, how would you fix Void Entropy as a talent to make it viable at level 100 to compete with AS and COP? Is it even, like, fixable? I mean, they band-aided the hell out of it already with the fact that it can last forever. And they buffed its damage by a whole butt ton. Still not good?
How much would you consider fixing before it's a rebuild? That's the question. Where's the line? Like if you were to just make it, I don't know, replace Devouring Plague as your button, and then Devouring Plague just did something, like when you refreshed it, it did something like added the damage on it, just ramped up. Maybe that would work, or maybe that would become really OP. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder, because didn't Void Entropy used to cost 5 Shadow Orbs too, or was it always 3?
In early beta, it was variable still. You could apply a Void Entropy with 1, and it wasn't refreshed with Devouring Plague at the time. And it would do a third of the damage, and it was like, well, all right, now I'm definitely choosing to spend orbs on Void Entropy and refreshing Void Entropy, or spending it on Devouring Plague and getting all these other cool things from Devouring Plague, like self-healing and Surge of Darkness procs and Insanity. And then they fixed it so that at least it would cause Insanity when you spent any Shadow Orbs instead of just Devouring Plague.
Yeah, I mean, there's like an arbitrary number of things you can do to fix it. You can just quadruple its damage. Oh, Vent's the best talent now. It's like,
right, yeah.
I mean, that works, right? But I mean, I think the answer people want is like, how do you make it competitive?
Yeah,
and
kind of.
I don't really want to see it competitive because I don't want this minute-long refreshing dot.
You don't want Curse of Doom? Why don't you want Curse of Doom?
I don't. People are always wanting this thing to be a good thing. But I mean, for it to work at like a fundamental level, I think it needs to replace DP on your bar, not to be something.
There's a thing. Why isn't it not just super DP?
Well, or
I mean, it needs to get its worth out of a minute's cast and not be refreshed.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Because then, like over a 10-minute fight, it becomes this huge monster dot, and so I guess that's what people want to know. But I'd rather just see it die.
Vent is also weird when you compare the level 100 talents because it is the only one that doesn't increase orb generation. It actually costs orbs. COP, you get more orbs because the cooldown on Mind Blast is cut in half, or lowered by 3 seconds base, and is instant cast. And Auspicious Spirit, you get orbs from Shadowed Pain crits, from Shadowy Apparitions going out. But Void Entropy costs orbs instead. How does that make sense? If it would be able to give you more orbs, or maybe be able to proc being able to use abilities that cost orbs instead, like for free,
Oh,
then I think that would make it much more worthwhile. But right now, it feels out of place. No amount of buffing of damage is going to fix that.
right. It did, but not to be like vindictive, but it did seem sort of like they thought out clarity of power, even though they didn't really foresee the dot weaving thing, but it became a thing. Obviously, Auspicious Spirits is fixed now, but Void Entropy might have been like the not most planned out extra 100 talent because it just seems so it's pretty flat, but it doesn't like refresh by Devouring Plague, but not doesn't remove it, doesn't make it a really powerful one, and it's sort of like not even good on multiple fights where you can keep multiples rolling. It's
And it's hard to keep it rolling on more than 2.
more than
You
two.
get
It's
up
bad.
to like 3, and you just don't have enough orb generation to keep it up on every target,
Mm-hmm.
unless one of them's in execute range.
Right. That was a question in the notes, by the way. It was a huge question. I don't know if you had time to read that, David. If you want to give that, it was a very, very like mathy question. I don't know if you wanted to address it. I can kind of sum it up in some regard, but it's about
Yeah, so
GCD haste capping and stuff, and
if I'm reading this right, it basically says, my question is, do you have a feeling like a tier 18 bonus is irrelevant since these stats, in theory, should grant Shadow Priest to be shadowy apparition flying circus, so to speak. It looks like you could have an endless Devouring Plague spam on any 2+ permanent target fight. Uh, Before they changed or buffed the tier 18 bonuses so that we had a higher uptime on the multi-strike buff, it would have been absolutely possible to just keep rolling with tier 17 4-piece and just having that extra perma haste, basically, even though you were in some cases 30 item levels lower on 4 different pieces of gear because you were using tier 17 instead of tier 18. Now, though, it's not worth it. It was marginally better comparing like best in slot to tier 18 best in slot. But now it's just not.
right,
You don't have to do anything to take advantage of the tier 18 set bonuses. You just press the button.
right, and it just happens. Whereas you're coming from tier 18 or tier 17 rather, that has a lot of like almost like you said earlier, it has like rotational implications. Whereas 18 is just like Mindbender. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I guess there's a couple more things that come in chat. Some of the larger questions, we can't get to all of them, of course. You can definitely follow these gentlemen on their socials that bring up on the show. You can tweet questions at Twintop, of course, or bother Hesp on his live stream. But yeah, I guess that might be it. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to close with?
I'm gonna go jump in a lake.
Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there was something else that came in chat that I really wanted to grab here.
I thought I saw something, but I don't remember what it was now.
Right. I'll have to find, I don't know, maybe. Hopefully, if you didn't get your question answered, you can always bounce them on the social medias. And let's see. Yeah, that'll be about it, I think. I'm gonna hit the button because I'm grasping here. Yeah, Honey Bear had a crazy question here. Quest to make Ret Shadow Windwalker viable with every niche. You agree the 4th spec for DPS should be introduced for paladins, priests, and monks, or have a gladiator level warrior treatment treat, and then Blizzard can fill around with the ones. I mean, I personally don't know if 4th specs is a good idea for the game balance. They already can't balance the game as it is.
It's like probably beyond the skeptics, but I mean, there are 2 ways to like balance your MMO, right? There's to like try to get everything like real close, like WoW kind of has, or just let things be OP and let the players pick like what they want to play based on like what's OP and like what's good or not, you know? And kind of like in WoW, people have this like, well, I've been a Ret Paladin for a decade. Ret Paladin should be good because I've put time in. It's like, I mean, what if it wasn't like that though? You know, what if Ret Paladin was just like known to be like this bad thing that nobody played? Good if you really liked being a Ret Paladin, but nobody played it. So lately I've been thinking like, maybe things should be more OP and less like worried about balancing, but not like current WoW. I don't know. Like, I would like to see 4th specs. I don't think they could balance it, and I think WoW's too ingrained in like the philosophy of like balance is good to really change that at this point. But who knows? You got a lot of different options with Shadow Priest, to be honest. It's much more like a pure than, you know, something like Red is, where your talents don't change the playstyle nearly as much. But we'll see. Maybe one day, right?
Yeah, and if you have a game like Final Fantasy XIV where ults aren't really a thing because you can just respec yourself
To be a
and
different
turn into
character.
something totally different,
Right.
you know, that works. But in a game like WoW, if you want a hard swap to another class, prepare to have a couple month long grind just to get back to where you are on like the legendary.
Yeah,
It's not easy to just drop one and move on to whatever the next thing is.
Yeah, I people always ask me if they should add a new class to World of Warcraft, and I'm like, no, because they already can't get a good balance with the game that they have now with the current classes and specs. New races, whatever. But new classes, I think we're not ready for it yet. I don't think, like, the disparity of, or at least a DPS standpoint, going into tier 18 is such a vast one. It's greater than 10% from top to bottom, which, is that acceptable? Like, is it okay that X, Y, and Z class can do, like, 14,000 more DPS than A, B, C classes? No, that's kind of rough, right? We're talking about just patchwork, simcraft kind of stuff right now, too. Like,
And that's fine if those classes that are low on the totem pole in like a patchwork situation
Bring utility
are
you
on
need?
top somewhere else, or they have, you know, it. But that's usually not the case. Example
right.
1A: Warlocks and Mob.
Oh boy, you could have just said Warlocks.
I know, but that was like the super extreme.
Right. It's a tough one. I think the 4th spec might be they'd have to really compartmentalize certain parts about classes that deem it necessary to have a 4th spec. That have to be really fine-tuned. I think they admitted in the fact that the ability pruning was good on some classes, overly pruned on certain ones, and not enough on others still. So they learned a lot, I would imagine, but if they wanted to make rotations on certain classes still interesting, but also like simpler, so you can be fighting the boss and not fighting your dot weaving rotation spreadsheet while you're fighting the boss, then that would be a positive overall for game design. But that's tough. I'm sure it's tough. I can't imagine. There are 34 different ways to play the game. So, yeah. But lots going to happen in 7.0. Ian Hazakosta has definitely alluded to it on the Q&A yesterday. But we'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
But I'm hitting the button again. I think it's about time. Hit that button. Go around the table again. Thank you all for being here for the after show for episode number 84, Final Boss TV for Shadow Priest. Of course, if you missed the main show, this and the main show will be on YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, hello! And you can click to go back to the main show over here or something like that if you've missed it. Run around the table again real quick to our guests. Twintop returned for Mr. Pandaria Junkets and Warlords beta stuff, so you can go follow Mr. Twintop Tahoe on Twitter at Twintop Tahoe. Thank you, sir. Go have fun in the lake.
I will.
You weird outside person, you.
I know. What is this? I mean,
It was a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
thanks for having me.
Joining us from Midwinter, we had Hesp. You can go watch his stream and see the thing of how he's the king of the jungle, apparently, on Hesp TV. Thank you, sir. King of the jungle. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right,
It was awesome.
yep. Thanks, guys. I'll return to my PTR dummy testing dungeon. Do that for the rest of my life, I guess.
You have fun with that.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you're improving Simcraft or giving good logs for Kira, that's good. I appreciate that, sir. And I'm sure all the Shadow Priests out there in the community do appreciate it. Of course, we'll see you next week. Feral Druid is next week, hopefully. We're doing melee range next episode, so I'll have guests on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, coming out in the next couple of days when I get everything worked out. And, yeah, thank you all for watching so much. And until next week, everybody, they will find the ring and kill the one who carries it. Have a good night, everybody. Bye. Bye.